All right, Sunday morning again, podcast time again, and I am so excited. Last week I did this first podcast ever and I didn't really know how it would turn out and I didn't really know how I would feel about talking that long straight into a camera without really scripting what I was going to talk about. And I did it, and the weirdest thing happened. The next couple of days after I recorded this last Sunday, I was so pumped to do another episode. And whenever something happened during this last week that I felt is worthy talking about, I immediately made like a mental note that I want to share it with you guys. I want to put it on the next episode of this podcast. And I really feel like this is a good thing to do for anyone, really, even if you don't share it with an audience, just so you get a chance to reflect on your past week, on your habits, on your routines, on what you're doing. And I know there's a lot of people out there doing journaling, for example, which is like a fancy word of saying that you have a diary and you write down what happened during the day. But doing this podcast last week really opened my eyes to the power of reflection and the power that comes with habits like journaling. That you sit yourself down and you go through your day or your week and you go through what you liked, you go through what you could improve or what made you feel not so good. You get to reflect on the things that brings you happiness and the things that take away happiness from your life, the things that piss you off. And by becoming aware of that, you realize what you have to focus on in the future. What do you have to focus your energy on, and what should you maybe take energy away from? What should you do less with your time because it doesn't give you the happiness or the reward that you're looking for? So I really feel like this video podcasting, video journaling almost is a great way to do that for me. And on top of that, it's a great way to actually just get to talk for an hour because I'm a talkative guy. Like yesterday night I went out with a friend and she recently broke up with her boyfriend, so we talked about that a lot. And it was a lot of relationship stuff going on in her head, and shit, I was so talkative. I had like 2 beers and I couldn't stop rambling, and I know that I can be a little bit like that. So sometimes in social interactions, I actually have to actively stop myself and actively tell myself like, okay, Moritz, shut the fuck up. Let the other person talk for a second here. But in this podcast, I don't have to do that. I get to talk and you guys get to listen. So that's how it's gonna be. So I'm going to talk a little bit about last week, the week that I had, and the things that I've been trying to focus my energy on. Sorry, already losing my voice there. The bar that I went to yesterday with that girl was pretty loud, so I had to talk very loudly to cut through the music. And I think I messed up my voice a little bit there. I'm not used to going out anymore that much because I have a girlfriend and I'm working pretty hard, and I just turned 30 this year, so I think all these factors combined led to me kind of shying away from the party scene in the recent years, which I guess is a good thing. It's a healthy thing, and it's actually something that I was not sure I could do when I get older. Like, fuck, when I was 25, I was partying so much and partying so hard, and I was like, geez, am I gonna be this guy who's like 40 and still goes out every single weekend and gets blasted and like sings Backstreet Boys and 90s songs from the top of his lungs while dancing on the table? I never really wanted to be that guy when I get older. So I'm kind of happy I, got the right moment to leave the party scene behind there. But on the other hand, I'm not used to the energy anymore. So yesterday when I went out, it felt a little bit weird to be out in this like high energy environment again, and people are drunk and people are screaming and laughing and like people are hitting on each other and hitting it off on the dance floor. I was like, Jesus, I used to do that like week after week after week for years. And now I feel so out of place being in these environments. So I guess it's a good thing to every once in a while just, go back to old habits and old routines and be like, oh yeah, shit, I used to be like that. I used to do that. Okay, but I was going to talk about the routines of my past week and what I focus my energy and time on. And the main thing right now, I got to fill you in on this one. I have a good friend, one of my best friends from my hometown, from high school years, back in the days. And we go way back, obviously. High school was like 12 years ago for me. And he also partied pretty hard when he was in his early and mid-20s, being a student and all, liking to drink, being German, enjoying our beer. And then I went to Brazil with him in 2014, and we went to the World Cup. We actually had tickets for the final at the World Cup that Germany ended up winning against Argentina in Rio de Janeiro. So absolutely fantastic experience. I think, honestly, one of the greatest moments in my life, to be there when Germany scored the final goal in that World Cup. There's no way to describe that, what I felt in that moment, being a football fan and having suffered so many heartaches throughout the years as a football fan of Germany. But anyway, I was there with my buddy, and we were there for many weeks in Brazil, just partying it up and drinking a lot and, not giving a shit. But we also came to that realization that, okay, we're 26 at the time, and we need to get out of this drinking and partying habit. We need to actually get our shit together. We need to get a job. We need to, most of all, start living healthy, like eating healthy, going to the gym, training. And I've never really been a big fan of that. Like, I always did sports, but I never went to the gym. But with this buddy of mine, we decided we're gonna do that, and we're gonna push ourselves. We're gonna push each other to, step it up. And that's the year when the Christmas Liftoff was born. Let me explain. So the Christmas Liftoff is that we both get to go back to our hometown every Christmas and spend Christmas and the holidays with our family there. But the day before Christmas, we meet and we go to the gym in Ulm, in my hometown in southern Germany, and we compete in different exercises in the gym. So those are like the classic exercises. We do bench press, and we do military press, like overhead press, and we do pull-ups, and we're gonna do push-ups for the first time ever this year. So each year we did this, and we competed with each other. And this guy is like a little bit heavier than me. He's a bit stronger than me, but because he's heavier, I'm also better at the body weight exercises. So for example, pull-ups, I can do more than him. And we would always compete with each other and push each other to step it up each year since 2014, since we started this. And I gotta say, this has been a great experience, because you need somebody who is into the same shit as you and who maybe even is better than you, somebody who's, stronger in that case than me. And who pushes you, who makes you push your boundaries, who makes you train harder, who makes you want to beat him. And because we're writing down our personal records, because we're writing down our personal records when we're doing the Christmas Liftoff, we actually get to compete with ourselves or our past selves the next year. So this year I'm training really hard right now because Christmas is coming up. It's in 6 weeks. And I'm super stoked for this ridiculous thing that we're doing called the Christmas Liftoff. So I've been hitting the gym really hard the last couple of weeks. I've been training my ass off and just trying to get back into that form, because last year, honestly, I was pretty strong. I really put a lot of energy, heart, and soul into this whole Christmas Liftoff thing. So it's gonna be tough for me to beat my past self from last year. So I'm also eating a lot. I'm trying to bulk up a little bit, get stronger in the next couple of weeks. So at the Christmas Liftoff on 23rd of December, outdo myself. I can set new personal records. I don't think I can beat my body just because, he is heavier, he is stronger than me, even though we're kind of the same height. But I think he's, built a little bit better for gym exercises, like weight lifting exercises. I'm a skinny guy. I mean, I already bulked up a little bit in the last couple of years. I got definitely stronger since 2014 when we started this. But I'm still a skinny dude. Like, I'm never gonna be this Hulk Hogan kind of guy, Never gonna be the guy with like the super broad shoulders or whatever. So I mostly compete against my past self when I do this. But that being said, it really matters so much in whatever you do to have an accountability buddy. It makes a huge difference for me, and I mean, we go kind of nerdy on these things, like we send each other pictures of the food that we're making for ourselves to, get our protein in and bulk up, and we're sending each other updates after we went to the gym. Yesterday I went to the gym in the morning and I was like, dude, I did this exercise with like the fucking bench press, and like I was trying to do 5x5 with 75 kilos, but then I noticed it's a bit too heavy. I didn't feel it, so I went down to like 60 kilos and I did like excuse me, and I did like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of 60 kilos, and after that I was destroyed. But I was telling my buddy all of that. So I was like writing these long ass messages, and we do that pretty much every day. So it's a fun thing that we do, and we get to push each other. We get to encourage each other. It's not like a negative thing where like we're trash talking each other, even though we do that a little bit. But mostly it's supportive, and it's supposed to be supportive because there are so many negative people out there. Like this old saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, it essentially comes down to this. You need supportive people around you, people who support you in your effort to becoming the best version of yourself, people who support you in pushing your boundaries, people who also, poke you a little bit when you're slacking, and who encourage you to step up your game even more. These are the kind of people that you need, and these are the kind of people you should invest your time in. And I'm lucky to have friends like that. Of course, we still, go party the day after the Christmas liftoff. We get drunk a little bit and we have a good time. But we shifted our priorities in the last couple of years towards a more healthy lifestyle, and a lifestyle that is really focused on evolving and growing rather than destroying, because that's essentially what you do when you party as hard as we did in our early 20s. I mean, it's not a very constructive thing to do. So I'm happy that nowadays it's more about, gym stuff, even though it's a bit nerdy and like you feel like this gym rat constantly talking about weightlifting, while not even being exceptionally good. But it's a good habit to maintain, and it's so important to have people in your life who share these kind of beliefs and who share this kind of enthusiasm for positive things that make you grow. So that being said, I'm really trying to like put on weight because that makes such a big difference if you want to become stronger. It's kind of a weird thing, but really just by gaining weight, even if it's not muscle mass, even if you're just gaining fat, I feel like you're getting automatically stronger. So that's kind of like a cheap way to cheat yourself into becoming stronger if you have to become stronger fast. And I'm having a hard time gaining weight. I'm like a hard gainer, or what they call hard gainer. So I really have to eat a lot. Like I have to eat like 5 meals every day. I started eating these 500 grams of kwai. What is that? Like, it's kind of like yogurt and cotton cheese, like a blend of it. I don't think there's a word for that in English. In Swedish you call it kval. In German you call it quark. The point is it has a lot of protein. So I'm eating that every day, like half a kilo. and it has like 60 grams of protein or something, which is pretty insane. And then, I eat the brown rice and the chicken and the broccoli. So a very boring and very clean diet. But on top of that, I also did something to increase my calorie intake even more the last week. And I actually want to show you guys this. Just bear with me for 1 second. I can actually talk while I show you this. Where do I have it? So I made protein bars by myself. Can you guys see that? It is a protein bar that consists mostly of peanut butter, and then I'm gonna put this back because it's frozen. Hold on a second. Okay, so the protein bar is made out of peanut butter, and then I threw a shit ton of oats into it. Sorry. And then I added like chopped up nuts, and I added chocolate chips, like dark chocolate chips. And then on top of that, I also added a lot of protein powder. So these bars are fucking insane. I don't know exactly how many calories they have, because what you do is you blend all of that together. I used like 1 kilo of peanut butter that I ordered online. And I threw all of that together and I blended it up, and then you kind of flatten it out and cut it into chunks, like bars. And then you put it in the freezer. So now I have like 30 something bars of these protein bars in my freezer, and every day when I come home I eat at least one of them, and they taste fucking delicious, and they have a shit ton of protein, hopefully also a lot of calories. And I don't do it to replace a meal or anything because I want to bulk up, but I just eat it as a snack, which is really, really highly recommended if you are at all into weightlifting or gaining weight. I think you need these kind of bars, and here in Sweden, like, everybody's really into going to the gym. So there's a lot of protein bars that you could buy in the supermarket just because there's a market for it here. But first of all, they're crazy expensive there. You pay like 40 crowns, up to 40 crowns for one bar, which is like, I don't know, like $5, which is pretty ridiculous. And you cannot really do that every day just for a small little protein bar. But yeah, they also honestly don't taste as good as the ones that I made myself. So win-win, right? And it's a lot of fun to do. Like you blend everything together. It's like baking a cake, but instead of using dough, you just use like a shit ton of peanut butter and oats and whatever you can find that has calories. My girlfriend helped me, and she thought it was insane to do that. But then later she tried one of the protein bars after they were frozen and hard enough, and she was like, oh yeah, this actually tastes quite good. I could get used to that. Because she's also starting to go to the gym more and starting to get into actual weight training instead of just doing cardio and running. So yeah, we'll go to the gym together, and now she gets to use my protein bars as well. Just checking here, I have a list of stuff that I wanted to talk about in this podcast and that I wanted to address. So yeah, gaining weight, making protein bars. That was definitely a fun little activity that I did last week. And yeah, then just really, you gotta hit the gym hard. I mean, you gotta train at least 3 times a week, and you gotta train with very heavy weights if you want to make that, really gain weight. So I'm trying to do that, even though I have some issues that I'm struggling with. Like, for example, I have a hip problem, like a chronic hip issue, which really sucks because it keeps me from squatting and also from deadlifting, actually, because you also need your hips for that. And I cannot really do it with heavy weights, which is frustrating. At some point I will actually have to get hip surgery because it's a long story, but basically what happened is that already when I was born, like my hip do you call it hip pan? Like the thing your hip joint is in. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but it doesn't like fully cover the joint. So that essentially produces that pain in my hip. And it's been getting worse and worse. I used to do a lot of long distance running, like in my early 20s, and I can't do that anymore for years now already. Eventually I will have to get surgery. Right now I'm, just suffering through it. But it's restricting and it's a bit frustrating. So I'm trying to do exercises in the gym that don't involve the hips too much and where I don't need them too much. So, that's like bench press and overhead and going for these things rather than like the legs and the thighs. But yeah, I've been really focused on that. And actually, like I noticed yesterday morning when I went to the gym that it's such a cool thing to just train in the morning. Like you feel so good when you do that, and it's completely irrational because all you did is like lift a bunch of metal over your head. But for some reason, like it does something to your body, it gets like all the endorphins going, and particularly when you do it in the morning. Like I do it first thing in the morning, at least on Saturdays, that I get up and I don't even have breakfast, I don't look at my phone, I don't go on social media. I try to keep a clear head and I head over to the gym, which is only like 50 meters away from here. It's super close by. And I go in there, I do my lifts, and then I go to the sauna afterwards. And that is a fantastic thing to do because like this combination of physical exercise and then the heat from the sauna and taking several turns of going to the sauna, like, heating it up really hard and then just staying in there for like 5 to 10 minutes and then taking a cold shower and like freezing cold. But you don't even feel it like because your body's so hot and you cool the body down and then you go back into the sauna and you repeat that for like 2 or 3 times. It does something to your body that, my head was spinning with positive emotions and just pure happiness and joy that flooded through me. And it's such a genuine and nice feeling because it's not based on anything objective, or it's not based on anything that you buy or whatever, anything material. It's completely irrational, but at the same time the emotion is so strong, like the endorphins are rushing through your body and you're like, oh my god, I could do anything. You feel so strong and elevated. And then on top of that, I like grab a morning coffee on the way out from the gym, and I go back home and I get to have breakfast, and it's such a nice way to start a day. I wish I could do that every day, even when I go to work, but for that I would have to get up really early, and especially now in the winter that's kind of difficult for me. So I'm sticking to Saturday mornings, but it already gets me off on the right foot when I start my weekend, and then you feel more productive and you feel like you actually want to do shit and you feel energized. So yesterday was a very good day, and this is a great routine that I'm definitely gonna keep doing. That I, just start with training and then with sauna and then with coffee and breakfast. I don't think there's a better way to start the day or to feel better. And it really lasts for the entire rest of the day. Like later I had coffee with friends, we were sitting around the coffee table here and, just laughing my balls off and having a great time and joking around. You get into this zone that is hard to hit when you mess up your morning routines. Like if you don't start the day with the right foot, then it's really hard to get back on track. But if you start right, then everything else becomes so easy after that. So I definitely noticed that, and I'm definitely gonna keep tweaking that and keep working on that, like optimizing that more. So I can produce this feeling of just pure joy and happiness consistently. This is what I'm going for. And, here in Sweden, it gets super dark and cold and kind of depressing during the winter months. So it's important to develop these kind of routines. and get into these kind of habits that produce positive emotions on a consistent basis for you, without you having to resort to some kind of happy drugs or, I don't know, boozing or whatever people do to make themselves feel happy usually. So I'm trying to get that naturally and trying to get away from all the shortcuts that people are taking that eventually don't even work and just make them more sad and depressed. Okay, gotta check here what else I wanted to talk about with you guys. Got the lift off. Yes. One thing I was thinking a lot about these last couple of days and weeks, honestly, is the importance of choosing very carefully what you consume in terms of media and information. Because, okay, when I was younger, in my early mid-20s and partying hard, as an example, I didn't pay a lot of attention to the food that I put into my body, and I didn't care. And in your early 20s, you get away with that, but as you get older, you know, it catches up with you. And then I got more into health and into nutrition, and I started reading up on it, and I realized how important it is to fuel your body with the right ingredients. And I noticed it's exactly the same thing with your brain. You get away with it, like with shitty information that you take in and just bullshit that you consume up to a certain point. But if you don't turn the corner, then you're gonna be stuck for the rest of your life, essentially being an idiot. If you're the kind of guy who only watches like fucking YouTube clips the entire day and who gets his news from Facebook and social media, if you're the kind of guy who reads shitty newspapers, the one who's always, you know, exaggerating stuff and just trying to trigger you and push your buttons, if that's you and that's the only resources of information that you have, you're gonna develop into a shitty person, in the sense of, you know, just very unhealthy in your mind. And on top of that, what I've been thinking about is that you elevate everything that you take in. So, I mean, as humans, we communicate. That's kind of our thing. That's how we evolved, and that's how we gained an advantage over other species, that we were able to share information through the sounds that we make with our mouth. And of course, these days, 21st century, this is taken to a whole other level. I mean, I'm talking here into a camera and I'm gonna share it with the World Wide Web, and anyone who's interested can watch it and can listen to me. So what we say and what we're putting out there with our words is more important than ever. And if you only take in shitty information, this is what you're gonna share with the rest of the world. This is what you're gonna share with the people in your life, with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones, with your partner, with your colleagues. If you take in shitty information, you're gonna share shitty information with others. You're gonna elevate it, you're gonna propel that shitty information further, and you're gonna be a loudspeaker for these bad or just low quality news that we can hear everywhere if we don't, you know, block it out. So what I realized is important, that you very, very consciously decide what you want to take in. So really make an effort to reflect on, okay, where do I get my news from? Where do I get my information from? What kind of media do I consume? And I'm guilty of not being aware of that as well. I noticed, or I've been doing this for years, I spend too much time on YouTube. Like I love YouTube and I love making these videos, but I also love to just be a consumer, you know? And I would like to tell to myself that I watch like intellectual stuff, and you know, sometimes I do, and I try to get into that. I do think I got a lot of my education through YouTube, but I also noticed that I watch this shitty stuff, and I noticed that it's infiltrating my brain, and it's shaping the way I see the world. And for the longest time, I haven't made a conscious decision to let this infiltrate me. I just consumed whatever YouTube put in front of me, and I was like, oh yeah, let's watch this fucking comedian, and let's watch this talk show, and then, oh, here's a funny clip from somebody on YouTube, and like all these things. And after a while, you really start to feel how it sinks into your presence, and it starts not only infiltrating, but starts to define who you are. You start to define yourself through the stuff that you consume in terms of media. So I try to work on that. I try to change the way I consume my media, and I try to be more aware of what I let into my brain, what I pay attention to, because I notice the importance of it. And I really recommend that to anyone these days, because there is so much stuff out there, and like 95% of it is shit, if we're being honest. Like, it might be anything from just pure garbage to actually really entertaining, but it's still on the spectrum of shit, right? If we're being honest. Like, even a funny sitcom kind of is shit. I mean, it's just entertainment. It's nothing to fuel your mind with. It doesn't give your brain the kind of intellectual nutrition that it needs in order to grow and develop. So, of course, one thing that I'm very big on this channel is reading books. I really advocate that because I really believe that it's such a fundamentally important and beneficial thing for your own development and for developing a very heterogeneous worldview, and for developing your vocabulary, developing the way you can express yourself, being able to put your thoughts and your ideas into words that resonate with other people. So reading, hugely important. But on top of that, of course, there is great content on YouTube. Of course, there are great people who put speeches and their ideas onto YouTube, onto that platform. And you can choose to engage with that. You can choose to let that influence you, because it will influence you. Whatever you choose will influence you, and it is up to you to make that decision. So I'm just trying to make this decision much more consciously, and I'm trying to support other people who are on that same path, and I try to encourage other people to go down that same path, because again, the people in my life are also gonna share the shit that they watch day in and day out with me. So if I can convince them to watch better shit, I get to listen to them sharing better shit with me in the long run. And I don't have to listen to their moronic stories and moronic theories about stuff they somewhere saw in the, weird corners that the internet has, like all their conspiracy theories or whatever. So, it's a good thing for you, but it's also a good thing for everyone else that you talk to and that you share yourself with, to increase the expectations that you have on yourself. To yourself? How do you say it in English? You need to be critical of yourself, and you need to set the bar a little bit higher. You need to say, like, okay, I'm having dinner and I could watch a TV show, but hey, let's watch this really challenging debate that somebody had about really important issues that actually matter, and just challenge myself a little bit. Let's just see, okay, how well spoken are these people in the debate? How much can I learn from them? Do I agree or disagree with their points? Do they maybe make points that I never considered before? This is how you learn. This is how you develop your mind and your intellect. And if you're just always taking the easy way out and kind of going down the beaten path, just, Netflix and chill in the best possible way, always taking it easy, you're simply not gonna develop. And this is not what I want for myself. So yeah, this is something I've been thinking about as well. Let's see here. Yes. Amplify good ideas to the world. I hope this is what I'm doing with this podcast as well. At least that's my intention. And if you feel like I could do it even better in some way, or if you feel like there's something I can improve to, take this to the next level, elevate my audience and myself to a whole new level and amplify the thoughts and ideas that I want to share with you even better, then let me know. That's what the comments are for, and I'm happy about every compliment, but I'm just as happy about any criticism because it helps me get better at this. All right. Yes, kind of making quite a segue here, but another topic that I wanted to address is something that for different reasons I had to think about quite a lot lately, which is if you don't take the beaten path in terms of career, and if you try to do something that is a little bit outside the box, and by that I mean, you simply don't go to university and get a major and get your degree, and then you apply at the job market and you become an employee and you work your way up and you get your salary raises and you eventually become a manager or whatever you want to do in your field. Like, if that's not the kind of career that you want to go with, you have to basically have no plan B. This is something Will Smith talked about like years ago in an interview already. Maybe I can link it down in the description. It's a really cool interview, and he talks about the fact that he's amazed by how many people have a plan B instead of following all their energy on their plan A. He's like, if you want to succeed, you don't have time to think about a plan B. How about you just put all eggs in one basket and you double down on what you want to do, your plan A, and that's how you succeed. Because if you have that other alternative, if you have always this way out or this thing that you can fall back onto, it's just so likely that you're not gonna make it, because it's so tough to make something extraordinary happen that you can basically only succeed if you burn the bridges before. You can only make it if you say like, okay, this is it, and I either have to make it or I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna starve to death because I don't make any money on this, or I have to make it. Those are my two alternatives. There is no middle ground. There is no plan B. There is no other option. If that's your situation, you are gonna work your fucking ass off to make your dream come true, to make things happen, to actually get plan A to work. Because the other option is that, you fucking die. And this is something that really motivates you. This is something that can really make you go beyond of what you thought you're capable of. And this is what you need if you want to make it outside of the beaten path. If you want to do something extraordinary and unique, this is the kind of dedication and passion that you need to bring to the table. And if you look at anyone who made it against the odds, quote unquote, and with that I'm mostly saying about, for example, the entertainment industry or professional athletes. These kind of people who, like 0.1% maybe makes it. If those are your odds, you cannot have a plan B, because it's just gonna be so tough and it's gonna be so easy to fall back on plan B that all these people who have a plan B, who still have their fucking accountant job waiting for them, or whatever, being taking over your daddy's firm because your daddy really wants you to do what he did. then if that is an option for you, you're gonna fall back on that at some point and you're not gonna persevere. So you gotta burn the bridges if you want to make it. And that is fucking brutal. Like to actually make that decision and to make it early on in life, because these people who succeed, they have to make that decision oftentimes, you know, when they turn 20. They move out to fucking Hollywood and they're like, okay, that's it. I either make it or I live a life of constant struggle and just poverty, and you know, I will never get out of that unless I make it in this town. And obviously it's not only Hollywood, but Hollywood is just such a good example for this, for the grind and the odds that are against you. And I've been thinking about this more and more because I really want to make it with my company, and I want to make it on YouTube, even though I don't even know what that means. I don't want to become like a YouTube celebrity, but I want to reach a wider audience. I want to be able to share my thoughts with people who are interested in the same things that I care about. And for that, I need to grow this channel, which I care deeply about, and I put a lot of work into it, and I work on myself, and I work on my camera skills, I work on my editing, I work on my thumbnails, I work on all these different aspects. But at the same time, and here we go for full circle, I actually have to go back to taking like a day job, a 9-to-5 job, which I haven't done for the last like 15 months since I started my own company. And I'm gonna explain to you why now. So I basically had to get a job very fast now because there's this visa issue that I have with my girlfriend. She's Chinese, but she wants to stay here in Sweden, obviously. So in order for us to get a visa for her, I basically need to show to the government that I can provide for her. I can support the both of us, and right now I can't because I'm doing this thing, I'm being an entrepreneur, which means I'm pretty fucking broke right now, not making any money. And in order to let her stay in this country and in order to get the visa for her, I needed to show the government that, you know, I have a steady income, I have a steady contract with a company that pays a paycheck to me. So I'm going back to the 9-to-5 grind at the company that I worked for before, online payment company. So it's like a financial company, which is okay. Like the job is actually cool, but I know this was always plan B for me, and I'm falling back on my plan B, and I'm just really worried that I'm not gonna be able to put as much energy and work and enthusiasm into the work that I actually want to do, which is this, talking with people about personal development, coaching people, inspiring people, putting myself out there, working on myself. This is what I want for myself, and I knew from the start that this would be a very, very tough path to go down, and I knew that the odds were against me. And yeah, now it seems like I'm going back to my plan B, and I'm definitely not stopping YouTube. I'm definitely not stopping doing this, and I will continue working on my business. But at the same time, I know how hard it is to maintain doing something like this when you're working 40 hours per week, and you're just in that grind, and you come home tired. Like to come home after a long day at work in the office, people don't realize how drained you feel after that until you actually do it. So even though you come home kind of early, maybe like, I don't know, 6 o'clock, and you still have the entire evening to work on your own projects, like your side thing, which for me would be YouTube and my own company, you don't have that energy anymore, and it's really, really tough in that position to get to anywhere. if you're constantly depleting your energy during the day and the day job that you have. So yeah, that's something I've been pondering over a lot, because I feel like I'm at a stage in my life, I just turned 30 this year, as I mentioned, where every turn that I take could, okay, this sounds a bit melodramatic, sorry about that, but I really feel that way. Like every turn that I take along the path could be my last chance to take that turn. So if I settle for one career path now, chances are that this is it, you know? Like you don't get to change careers normally when you're in your 40s. You don't get to change careers after you worked in a completely different field for 10 years. So I'm just worried that this is it for me, you know? Like if I go back to that day job, this might be it for a couple of years until I maybe go to another company. But then again, no other company would hire me for something completely different that I have no proven record on. So, you know, I might be stuck in that thing, which again is cool. I mean, I studied finance, and like it's not something I don't love at all, but it's not my deepest passion. It's not what makes me get up on a Sunday morning and talk into a camera for an hour. It's not the same kind of passion that I bring to the table, and I always feel like you should go with the thing that you have the most passion for. But at the same time, like you see my dilemma here, right? Because I needed to do this in order to allow my girlfriend to stay in the country. Otherwise, she would have been kicked out and sent back to China, which I definitely didn't want to happen. And so I had to make this trade-off. So basically what I see myself doing here is really betting on myself. I'm betting on myself that I have the stamina and the energy to work my day job and do it well and please my boss there and don't get fired, have the regular paycheck come in, allow my girlfriend to stay, make sure she gets the residence card until she can find her own job and start working and, you know, have an own income. So I have to make sure that is taken care of, but at the same time I need to make sure that I keep following my dream, I keep following my passion, and I keep doing what I sincerely and deeply care about, what I love, which is this kind of interaction. And not just, that's the thing too, you don't just get to keep doing that, you have to push yourself every time you do it. You have to force yourself to step it up. You have to get out of your comfort zone. If you want to make a career that is outside the beaten path, you have to fucking grind. It's not enough to just show up, you know? You have to fucking put yourself out there again and again and again. Each time getting a little bit better and stepping it up a little bit more. So, fuck, it's gonna be tough to have that kind of energy and make sure that I juggle these different balls in my life. But yeah, that's how my future is gonna look like, and I still have 3 weeks until I start this new position at my old company. So I still have enough time to produce a lot of content now and maybe kind of, what is it called, like drop it onto you guys, you know, like over the next couple of weeks and the rest of the year. But yeah, after that, we're gonna see how it goes. I'm gonna do my very best to keep this channel going and to keep making amazing content. But it is gonna be a struggle for me, and not really sure how that's gonna turn out. But hey, I mean, nobody said it's gonna be easy, right? And at least I'm still in the struggle, even though it just got a lot harder with this day job. So let's see. Okay, how many minutes do we have on this podcast now? Let's see if I wrap this up at some point. Let's see if the microphone is still working. Yes. I was a bit worried that the battery might die if I record for another hour like last week, because battery is only half full as I started. Yes. So, sorry about the ramble there, but in order to make it against the odds, you should not have a plan B. And the fact that I have a plan B, and that's actually what I do with the majority of my time in the near future, makes me concerned. That's basically all I wanted to say there. Okay, but actually tying into that, this is going to be the last point of this podcast. But what ties into this whole, trying to follow my own career, make my own luck within my career path, going against the odds, but at the same time making sure my girlfriend can stay and we can be happy ever after together. Isn't that the dream of everyone, right? Just want to have it all in life. Some subscriber of this channel asked me during this week what my goals are in life. And I think that's of course, super relevant question for anyone to ask themselves. And it's something that is kind of easy to answer superficially, but it's really hard to answer in a very reflected and kind of deep way. So I'm going to try to go for the second way here, which is going to be a little bit difficult, because it's easy to say like, oh yeah, I want to have a happy family and 2 kids and a wife that I love, and I want to have money and work a job that I enjoy, and on top of that I want to be super healthy and get my 6-pack abs going. So that's kind of easy to say, and that's kind of the standard answer to some extent for everyone, right? But if you dig a little bit deeper and you ask yourself, why do I want these things? What does it give to me to, be able to do a job that I love? What does it bring into my life to be healthy and, have those washboard abs? Why do I put so much time and energy and effort into acquiring these things for myself? It really always boils down to happiness. Happiness is the common denominator of all of us. We're all striving for happiness, and we're doing that in different ways, and there are different approaches, and people find joy and happiness in different things. So this is also what makes it so unique and so interesting to talk to people about happiness and what they think happiness means to them and what they do in order to accomplish happiness, if you even can say that. So I'm no different there. Like, I'm going for happiness and I want to create a life that brings happiness for me. So, for example, making that decision that I'm gonna go back to a job that I like but I don't love, and that I don't feel this burning desire to do, that's essentially a happiness trade-off that I'm doing. Because I know at the same time this allows me for my girlfriend to stay, and she brings an enormous amount of happiness into my life. So I was faced with the decision, okay, what brings you more happiness? And I sided with my girlfriend. So for that I was willing to make sacrifices in other areas of my life. And of course, in the future, I hope that I get to turn this area, like the professional area of my life, around and gain happiness through that as well, and increase my happiness over the years in that field. But I knew that I want to build a life together with the girlfriend that I have right now, and that I want to start a family in the future, and all these things I would have sacrificed if I had not sided with her in this really difficult decision for me. So when I'm asked about what my goals are in life, I would say the goals that I have for myself in life are being self-aware enough to know myself and to know what brings me happiness, and then having the stamina and the willpower and the grit to actually pursue that. So there are those two components. The first one, know thyself, which, by the way, a little plug here, is the first chapter of my ebook that I published 2 weeks ago. If you haven't gotten it yet, you should definitely go check out the link in the description and get that ebook. I go much more into depth into all of these topics there. But yeah, the first chapter of this ebook is called Know Thyself, which is written on the what is it called? The Oracle of Delphi, the Temple of Delphi, where the Oracle lived, allegedly. It said, inscripted, know thyself, which is really profound if you think about it, that even back then, people, the ancient Greeks, were so concerned with getting to know who you actually are and what drives you. What is it that brings you passion and pleasure and ultimately happiness in life? And that's not an easy thing to do. It's very difficult to know yourself on a deeper level, not just knowing what commercials tell you what you want, not just knowing what your friends want, but actually knowing what you want. It's a tough spot to get to. And everyone is still struggling with that. You're never done with that. You're always peeling away new layers of this like onion that you are, and you're getting deeper and deeper into yourself and your core and what drives you, what motivates you. And I'm no different there. So I'm trying to know myself and be aware of what that driving force is for me. But then there's also the second part of developing the actual skills of execution. And there's a couple of things that play into this. It is, as I mentioned, grit. There's a great book called Grit by Angela Duckworth, which you can check out. Super book, highly recommended. She also did a TED Talk about it. And she found out that that's like the main reason that people succeed, that they have grit. It's being able to execute. It's being able to actually have the social skills to get other people on board with your passion and get other people to help you and support you. So there's all these very practical components as well, other than just knowing yourself. Knowing yourself is a very inward process. It's something that you have to figure out yourself and something that never ends. It's an ongoing process, the entirety of your life. But then the second part is a really outward-oriented process. It's putting yourself out there and really going hard and hammering it out and pushing yourself and not giving up and not being disillusioned and getting people on board and getting people hyped up and developing the skills to actually resonate with people, to get to eventually where you want to go and where your inner compass tells you you have to go. And oftentimes, you might not even know what this place is that you eventually are heading towards. You just might know the direction, or you might not even know the direction that you want to go, but you might know the directions you don't want to go into. And that already can be a great way to figure out which the right direction for you is, obviously. So, you zigzag your way through life, figuring out more and more what you want, without maybe even knowing where this all might lead towards. I mean, there are so many people, successful people, who talk about how they had no idea that what they were doing at the beginning of their career or beginning of their adult life would eventually bring them to the point where they got super successful in what they were doing. And of course, one of the main examples of that is Steve Jobs, who gave this amazing commencement speech at Stanford University, 2005, where he talks about the dots that you form in your life, different life events, but you cannot connect these dots looking forward. You can only connect these dots looking backwards. And I think that's a deeply profound message, a message that is lost on a lot of people who never approached life with the openness that Steve Jobs had towards it, and who, just followed down the beaten path. But if you are open-minded, you do see that happen again and again. These weird incidences in life where, looking back on them, you realize, shit, this really made a major impact on the direction of my life, and this really was a profound experience for me, and it helped me become the kind of person that I am today. So, to sum this up, if you are asked about the goals in your life, I think it's a good way to have this inward focus, but also develop these outward skills to then actually follow through with the direction that your compass points you towards. Listen to your inner compass. Don't drown out that voice inside of you that tries to tell you where to go. And even if you don't know what the final destination looks like exactly, just trust your gut feeling and trust yourself that on a deeper, subconscious, metaphysical level, you already know what you're destined to do. And you have a responsibility to follow that voice, to listen to it, to not just ignore it and cover it up by fucking social media and commercials and all this other bullshit that is constantly trying to infiltrate our mind. Actually learn to listen to that voice inside of your head and try to make decisions based on that, even if it seems irrational and kind of clueless at the time. Even if people ridicule you for it, fuck it. And then also know that you need to work on those skills like willpower and grit and dedication and social skills and obviously the skills of the path that you want to pursue. You need all of these too in order to eventually succeed. And this kind of success, I believe, is gonna be what makes you the happiest. And this kind of success is what the goal should be for anyone in life. All right. So I think it's been almost an hour. It's been a pleasure. Love doing these talks. And I'm already looking forward to next week, honestly. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. It's kind of cool to come up with material as I go through the week and notice different things. And then, I just make a note and I write it down. I actually write it down in my phone. So I get to share it with you guys every Sunday from now on until who knows what happens, right? I mean, just doing something like that could be one of these events that you look back onto and like, shit, I remember this day in October 2018 where I started this video podcast. And look at me now, years later, and look at to what it led. So exciting to do this and exciting to find out where it leads me. Enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your weekend, have a good week, and I will talk to you next week again. Take care.